Yo, what's up guys? Bajheera here. Welcome to the Bajheera Arena Academy, Episode 1. Very excited to bring this series to you guys. A return to one of my favorite types of videos, where we're kicking butt in arena, walking you through my objectives, my team's objectives, and some things to look out for on the enemy team as well. The cool thing about these kind of videos is it actually helps me review my own gameplay to look for areas of improvement with my game, and hopefully guide you through some helpful tips and things to keep in mind for Arena to improve your gameplay as well. So it should be good for both of us. Let's get to work. Starting up a little 2v2 warm-up match. Ended up queuing into a Ret Paladin Boomkin, which can be pretty scary when all of their cooldowns are aligned. What I did was start off on the Ret Paladin with a lot of my offensives to force the Boomkin out. Immediately playing defensive, was able to reflect the clone, and then sort of mitigate their offensive pressure, which basically means that as long as we can keep a hold of these guys and keep the damage flowing, we should be able to wear them down in between their big offensive bursts. The Boomkin still has a little bit of his cooldowns left over, but with a little bit of defensive cooldown management by me and my team, we're able to weather the storm till my second spear arrives, at which point we're pretty much able to put these guys down. Ret Paladin bops himself out of my spear. I'm able to blade storm the Boomkin's clone attempt. He's really going to try to cast some clones. I'm not biting on the fake attempts. Did bite there, but he dies anyway, so we're able to get the job done there. Boomkin Ret Paladin can be really, really scary, but with an H Pally who has really powerful defensive cooldowns can kind of keep me in the mix. Nice little warm-up game for us. And if you haven't been able to tell, for these games I'll be playing Kyrian Fury Warrior, which is a really fun combo. Fury Warrior has lots of consistent DPS, stacking up to a 40% Mortal Strike with Rampage and Slaughterhouse. And playing Kyrian allows me to have a good amount of control, landing triple spears like this, triple being the Hunter, the Demon Hunter, and the Hunter Pet. What we're doing right here is we are looking out for this Marksmanship Hunter, really trying to get some pressure on him early. But after he pops his turtle, we're able to swap the Demon Hunter in the stun, get him really low as well. Now the Hunter is disarmed on his cooldowns. I'm stuck in this Vortex battling the DH for a second, so I'm just keeping the damage up where I can. Ultimately, really wanted to get back to the Hunter though. I've already used Enraged Regen on a lot of their offensive cooldowns in the beginning. I was able to disarm the Hunter's offensive cooldowns there. Lock the Hunter down in a stun, landed triple fear on the entire team, including the pet. Pretty much means the Hunter's done so. Really fast-paced game. I love the speed of the game right now. There's a lot to take in, but we'll break down some of the basics for you guys and try to keep you up to speed. A lot of what we're doing with Turbo Cleave is finding a target that we like, but also being willing to swap off of that target whenever defensive cooldowns are used by the target or on the target. So this match is going to be a little bit of a longer one. Ret Warrior is a composition you're going to be seeing a lot. This one's actually being played with an Arms Warrior, which is really good into melee cleaves like us. He's able to pretty much just kind of slam with sweeping strikes constantly, doing big damage. And his defensive cooldown, Die by the Sword, is excellent against other melee because you parry all the attacks rather than Enraged Regen just being a damage reduction and a heal effect. But Arms Warriors are able to sharpen blade the heal, so it's actually a pretty nice little counter to Fury Warrior. They unfortunately get our Paladin's bubble pretty much right off the bat, forcing cooldowns out of the enemy team's healer with all of their offensive cooldowns is pretty juicy. I'm able to catch the Ret Paladin and the Shaman in a double fear there. Looks like the Ret decided to trinket out of that, which sets him up for being a bit of a target later on. Defensive cooldowns like that, you got to keep an eye out for that. So we're able to hex the Ret, no trinket on him, which is going to limit the damage that they're doing to our Holy Paladin. And at this point, I'm really trying to just buckle down on the Warrior and try to keep them away from my Paladin healer. I see the Ret trying to run at my healer, hit it with the spear there. You also notice that I'm disarming the Arms Warrior's Warbreaker immediately. One of the things that I'm seeing a lot of Arms Warriors do nowadays is use War Banner with like every other Warbreaker so they can't get full disarmed until you kill their War Banner. So one of those things that you can do is you can use like War Banner to protect one disarm and Blade Storm to protect another one. So that's, if you're playing Arms, that's one thing you might want to think about doing. So right there, we just killed Mana Tide. We don't want them to get a mana lead. They're doing a lot of damage and pressuring our healer. So if we can try to mitigate any sort of mana regain on their healer, that'd be great. We've actually found ourselves in a position to try to hit their Shaman a little bit. We chase him away, come back to the Ret Paladin with no trinket while he's hitting our guy. So the Warrior drops a War Banner. Kill that War Banner first, then go for the disarm. I believe there was a time where War Banner did not affect disarm, which is troll, but now it does. So if you disarm a Warrior while they have War Banner down, the War Banner will reduce the time of that CC just like it does all the other ones. Now, while they're chasing after our Holy Paladin, I'm able to snag a huge spear, which forces the Spirit Link out of the enemy team's Resto Shaman, Earthen Wall Totem as well. So we are doing some big damage here. I'm able to snag the Shaman in a big fear, while the Ret Paladin is popping his own defensive, but also walking out of the Earthen Wall Totem, continuing the relentless pursuit on our Paladin. Now, when they're stacked up like this, cleaving our healer and me, it's not super ideal. They're able to snag my Holy Pally in the spear of their own. Once again, Warbreaker goes down. He protects it with the Blade Storm, so I'm holding my disarm. Once the Blade Storm ends, land the disarm, get back on the Ret Paladin, whose wings proc is fading currently. The Shaman is really trying his best to chase after his melee, but there are times where they line of sight their healer, which is excellent for us. And our Paladin, if you guys are playing healer, one of the things he's doing is continue to try to drag the melee away from their healer. That's something you can do in general. If you're the target of melee cleave, one thing that's great is to try to kite them out of line of sight of their healer, but avoid trying to bring them right to your healer so they can't like easily CC your healer. Once again, you're able to land another double spear. Kyrian is excellent against melee cleave for this reason right here. It locks them down, keeps them, you know, where you want them rather than being able to chase after our healer. And they're not always just going to run at your healer, but these guys definitely did. Forcing bubble really early on, it seems like a fine tactic. He spears our healer, but right now we've got the Ret Paladin over here on me. And Ret Pallies are scary enough with no cooldowns that I need to make sure I get back in line of sight of my healer. Once again, War Banner goes down. Need to keep an eye out for that. I don't think that War Banner was used in conjunction with Colossus Smash this time, though. So it was mostly just to try to prevent CC. Warrior did use parry there, though, so that's another defensive cooldown out of the books for him. He may have tried to parry the damage that my Shaman was doing, but I don't think he was in that much trouble. So that's one of those things that opens up a win condition for us. The Shaman does trinket my Fear and Tremor Totems, but the Ret Paladin also trinketed. So we're seeing a couple defensive overlaps for the enemy team, which is going to open up some opportunities for us to capitalize on that later on. Something I could have done better here is we saw the Warbreaker go off, and I did not actually disarm that yet. I was a little bit more focused on using my globals to heal myself. But when facing Arms Warriors, you absolutely want to just be ready to disarm every Warbreaker instantly, provided they don't have a Blade Storm or a War Banner down to prevent that. So this is kind of a scary moment. I dropped down super low in this Warbringer's charge, but fortunately my Shaman in a super heads-up move is able to land a Static Field Totem, which allows me to kite it out a little bit. I'm using Ignore Pain there. I'm using my Gladiator's Aegis there to survive that. So right now, we actually land a Hodge on the Ret Paladin and a Hex on the Resto Shaman there, which buys us a couple moments to really get this Warrior down low. Shaman's pretty much out of juice. The Warrior's able to rally, but we're able to chop right through it and land the kill. Definitely one thing I could have done better there is when I see the Hodge on the Paladin, when I see the Hex on the Shaman, go ahead and use my Stormbolt on the Warrior, because that would have prevented his rallying cry, which in the end did not end up saving him, but it could have been the thing in another game where it did save him. So we don't even want to give him the chance to do that. So we do go ahead and hit him with the bolt, lock the whole team down, secure the kill. That would have been a better play. All right, in this next match, we are facing a Shadow Priest, Holy Paladin, Ret Paladin, and as Turbo Cleave. If you see a Shadow Priest on the enemy team, that is usually going to be a good target for you to just go ahead and train down. We're popping a lot of offensives early. Here's a big mistake that I make here, is I fear the Paladin while he has Blessing of Sacrifice up. Blessing of Sacrifice is going to redirect some damage from the Shadow Priest, the target of the sacrifice, to the Paladin, which is going to break effects like Fear. So I really need to pay better attention about that. You can notice Blessing of Sacrifice by its little red and gold, almost drop of blood icon, and the Paladin will also have like a reddish gold aura underneath him, which will let you know that he has Blessing of Sacrifice active. So do not use any sort of soft CCs, meaning CCs that break on damage, into that. Ultimately, it didn't end up mattering because we were able to pump that Shadow Priest right into the dirt, but still, something to look out for. I believe that my Holy Paladin was able to catch the enemy team's healer in a surprise blind, which netted us the kill with the Shadow Priest not ending up pressing Disperse. So the game's really fast these days. Sometimes you think you're like I should be okay here, right? No, you are not. You usually have to be pretty quick about your defensive cooldown usage, because if you don't, you could be a dunzo really, really quickly. Speaking of which, I am using Enrage Regeneration right off the bat in this game in the stun to try to mitigate some damage. Then as soon as I come out of that stun, I'm healing. And once I'm out of that stun, we are trying to find our way to the Hunter. Hunter is usually a great target for Turbo Cleave. There's not a whole lot that they've got in their arsenal except for Kiting and Turtle. But if you can catch them in a stun, or catch them in a spear like this, which they are able to feign death out of, by the way, if you can lock down the Hunter to give yourself a chance to hit this little rascal, he's usually going to take a lot of damage, and it's going to force a lot of cooldowns out of the enemy team. So landing a Hex on the Priest means an immediate trinket when his Hunter is below half health right there. I'm keeping my full 40% Mortal Strike on this guy, just training him down, forcing the Turtle. I think that was a bit of an overlap, though. They gave him Guardian and Turtle, so that's a really good opportunity for us to capitalize on that. I'm able to quickly intervene over, eat the trap for my Paladin, and then hit the Paladin while I waddle over to the Hunter, land the Fear on the Paladin on his cooldowns, and the Priest with no Trinket. At this point, we're just looking to keep the damage rolling on the Hunter to see if we can force some more cooldowns, which we do. We get a Blessing of Protection on there. I get Hodged. I'm going to Trinket. I'm going to Rallying Cry. I'm going to press Ignore Pain, because we have a really nice little lead in this game. And the enemy team doesn't really have cooldowns popped at this point, but they do have some CC on the way. So getting myself healthy right now is pretty important. When they land the trap here, I'm going to get a few clutch off heals from my Shaman. As I dip a little bit lower as the CC chain progresses, I'm going to go ahead and pop my Enraged Regen, which reduces damage taken and allows me to heal more with Bloodthirst. Although the Hunter feigned deaths, he is not able to escape our Static Field Totem and our Spear of Bastion, and ultimately goes down. So the game is pretty fast right now. I like that a lot. It's a lot of fun, but it is a situation that can lead to feeling a bit overwhelmed. So a couple things to realize here is that CC is huge. If you can avoid overlapping your CC and extend CC chains, you are going to get big defensive cooldowns out of the enemy team. Sometimes overlapping defensive cooldowns, which is an important thing to potentially not do. Sometimes you have to. If the team uses every offensive cooldown, one defensive probably ain't going to cut it. You're going to need a couple defensives, including some from your team to help you out. On the other side of that, not overlapping defensive cooldowns when you don't need to is a great way to make sure that you always have some kind of response for sketchy situations, which will happen often in this fast-paced meta. I sort of expect that to continue into next season, into Season 4, probably another fast meta, I hope so. So these things that we're learning right now are important things to carry forward, right? Don't overlap your CC, don't overlap too many defensive cooldowns. You can overlap offensive cooldowns to keep the pumps rolling, but with the game being so cooldown based right now, I think that's an excellent thing to look out for, is be aware of enemy teams' cooldowns. I'll try to help you guys learn that throughout this Bajheera Arena Academy series. Be aware of enemy teams' cooldowns. Communicate with your team about defensive cooldowns, and communicate with your team about CC chains. Some things that are always good to learn, always good to practice, and the kind of thing that we'll keep working on in this series as well. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.